The massive ships came out of nowhere. One moment the space around Earth was empty and quiet. The next moment 50 enormous black vessels hung in the darkness like sleeping giants. Each ship was longer than 3 city blocks and covered in strange blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominator. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. His red eyes glowed as he looked at the small blue planet below. This was his 103rd conquest. He expected this one to be just as easy as all the others. Send the usual message, Vextar told his communication officer. Standard surrender demand. 24 hours to comply. The message went out across all frequencies in dozens of languages. The Empire had done this so many times they had a script: submit or be destroyed, join the Empire or watch your cities. Burn. Simple choices for simple creatures. Captain Hyun Woo was sleeping in his quarters at the Earth Defense Force base when the alarm started screaming. He rolled out of bed and grabbed his uniform. Outside his window, he could see bright flashes in the sky as detection systems lit up like fireworks. "Sir, we have a situation," came the voice over his communicator. "Big situation." Hyun Woo ran to the command center. The room was full of people staring at screens and talking fast into headsets. On the main display, 50 red dots showed the alien ships in orbit around Earth. "How long have they been there?" Hyun Woo asked. "They appeared 18 minutes ago," said Lieutenant Subin. "No warning, our deep space sensors didn't detect them until they were already here." "What do they want?" "They sent a message 15 minutes ago. They want us to surrender. Complete surrender. We have 24 hours. Hyun Woo felt his stomach drop. This was the moment they had all feared, the moment they had all prepared for. But now that it was here, it felt impossible and scary. President So-min was in her office when the call came. She had been reading reports about farming problems in the south. Now she was looking at reports about alien invasion instead. The change happened so fast it felt like a bad dream. "Ma'am, we need you." "In the emergency bunker," said her security chief. "Right now." The emergency bunker was 300 feet underground. It had been built 50 years ago when people first started worrying about attacks from space. The room was filled with screens and computers and people who looked very worried. "What are our options?" So-min asked. Chief Science Advisor Tae Ho stepped forward. He was a small man with thick glasses and gray hair. "We have 3 choices," he said. "We can fight, we can surrender, or we can do nothing." "Nothing?" "We call it Protocol Omega-7, complete communication blackout. We go silent and wait." Defense Minister Ji-won shook her head. "That sounds like giving up." "No," said Tae-ho. "It's gathering information. Every second those ships stay in orbit, we learn more about them, their technology, their behavior patterns, their psychology." Dr. Minho had been watching the alien ships through the Deep Space Observatory telescope. He had been tracking strange energy signatures in deep space for months. Now he knew what they were. The aliens had been coming toward Earth for a long time, much longer than anyone realized. "I've been monitoring their approach for 4 months," he told the emergency council over video link. "They're not as advanced as they want us to think. Their ships are old. Their formation is sloppy. They're used to easy victories." Strategic planning. Chief Woo Jin was studying data from around the world. "Every orbital platform is reporting the same thing," he said. "The aliens positioned themselves for maximum visual impact, not maximum tactical advantage. They want to scare us." "Are they succeeding?" asked President So-min. Woo Jin smiled for the first time that day. "They don't know humans very well, ain't you tight?" The alien flagship Admiral Vextar waited for the usual response. Most species either attacked immediately or begged for mercy within the first few hours. But Earth was doing something different. Earth was doing nothing at all. "No response from the surface," reported his communications officer. "Send the message again. Make it louder." "Yes, sir." The message went out again. Still nothing. No reply. No counterattack. No desperate attempts to negotiate. Just silence. Lieutenant Subin sat in the intelligence division listening to alien communications. The Earth Defense Force had been intercepting alien signals for years, building translation programs and studying their language patterns. Now that preparation was paying off. They're confused, she reported to Captain Hyunwoo. They keep asking each other why we're not responding. What's their normal timeline? Based on their communications, most planets surrender within 6 hours. The ones that fight usually attack within 2 hours. Hyunwoo nodded. And we're doing neither. Exactly. They don't have a protocol for this. In laboratories around the world, scientists were working fast. Dr. Minho coordinated with research teams in 12 countries. Every telescope on Earth was pointed at the alien fleet. Every sensor was recording data. Every computer was analyzing energy patterns and hull compositions and shield frequencies. Their reactors are running hot, reported Dr. Hyun-ji from the Seoul Technical Institute. They're not designed for long-term operation in hostile territory. How long can they maintain this formation? Asked Taeho. Based on heat signatures and energy output, maybe 3 weeks before they need to rotate ships out for maintenance. President So-min looked around the bunker at her advisors. So we wait 3 weeks? We wait as long as it takes, said Woo-jin. Every hour they stay in orbit makes them weaker and us smarter. The alien fleet waited through the first day, then the second day. Admiral Vextar had never seen anything like this. Usually by now, he would be accepting the surrender of planetary leaders or preparing bombardment patterns for stubborn worlds. Maybe they didn't receive our message, suggested his tactical officer. They received it. We know they have communication technology. Then why aren't they responding? Vextar didn't have an answer. In 102 previous conquests, this had never happened. Silence was not part of any tactical manual he had studied. Captain Hyunwoo stood in the Earth Defense Force Command Center, watching status reports come in from around the world. Every military base was quiet. Every government building was dark. Every satellite had gone into stealth mode. To outside observers, Earth looked empty and dead. But underground and in hidden facilities, the planet was busier than it had ever been. Thousands of people were working around the clock, studying the alien fleet, learning their weaknesses, preparing for whatever came next. How long can we maintain this? Asked Lieutenant Subin. Hyunwoo looked at the displays showing Earth's hidden resources. Food stockpiles, power generators, communication networks, all designed to operate in secret for months if necessary. As long as it takes, he said. Above them, 50 alien warships waited in the darkness, expecting an answer that would never come. They had conquered 100 worlds with fear and overwhelming force. But they had never conquered a world that refused to be afraid. The waiting game had begun, and Earth intended to win. 5 days passed in silence. Admiral Vextar paced back and forth on his ship's bridge, his forearms moving in nervous patterns. His red eyes kept looking at the blue planet below. No response, no communication, no movement of any kind. This is impossible, he muttered to his second-in-command, Captain Zorthak. Every species responds within the first 48 hours. Maybe they're dead already, suggested Zorthak. Some kind of plague or disaster. Our sensors show millions of life forms on the surface. They're alive down there. They're just waiting. Lieutenant Subin sat in her underground listening post, headphones covering her ears. For 5 days straight, she had been recording every alien transmission. The translation computers were working constantly, turning alien words into human language. They're getting frustrated, she reported to Captain Hyunwoo. Admiral Vextar has extended his original deadline 3 times already. What are they saying about us? Subin scrolled through the translated conversations. They call us the Silent World. Some of them think we're too primitive to understand their message. Others think we're planning something. Are we planning something? Subin smiled. We're learning everything about them. In the Deep Space Observatory, Dr. Minho had barely slept since the aliens arrived. His team was working in shifts, studying the alien ships through powerful telescopes. Every hour brought new discoveries. Look at this, he said to his assistant, pointing at images on his computer screen. Their formation is falling apart. The pictures showed the alien fleet from different angles. On the first day, the 50 ships had been arranged in a perfect pattern around Earth. Now they were scattered and uneven. Some ships had drifted away from their positions. Others had moved closer together. "They're not maintaining military discipline," observed Dr. Yan Su, the observatory's tactical analyst. "Their captains are making independent decisions without coordinating with each other." "That suggests weak command structure," said Minho. "Or maybe their admiral is losing control." Donghyun was the head of Earth's Xenobiology Research Division. He had spent his whole career studying the possibility of alien life. Now he was studying actual aliens, and they were not what he had expected. Based on their ship designs and communication patterns, these aliens are very old, he explained to the Emergency Council during their daily briefing. "I mean, their civilization is old. They've been doing the same things the same way for thousands of years." President So-min looked at him through the video screen. "Is that good or bad for us?" "It's good," said Donghyun. "Old civilizations become set in their ways. They don't adapt well to new situations." Yoonji from the Psychological Warfare Studies Department nodded in agreement. "Every alien transmission we've intercepted shows increasing confusion and irritation. They don't know how to handle a situation where their standard procedures don't work." "What are their standard procedures?" asked Defense Minister Ji-won. "Intimidation, followed by quick surrender or quick victory," said Eunji. "They've never had to deal with a species that just waits." The alien fleet was having problems. Not big problems yet, but small ones that were getting bigger every day. Ships needed maintenance, crews needed rest, equipment needed repair. All of this was normal during long space voyages. But the Empire's military was not designed for long space voyages. Admiral Vextar received a communication from the Imperial High Command. The message was not friendly. "Admiral, you were supposed to complete this conquest in 2 days. It has been 5 days. Explain the delay." Vexitar stood at attention even though the High Command could not see him. "The target species is not responding to standard intimidation protocols. Then use non-standard protocols." "What non-standard protocols?" There was a long pause. "Figure it out, Admiral. You have 1 week to complete this conquest or we will send someone who can." The communication ended. Vextar felt a cold fear in his chest. In the Empire, failure was not forgiven. Especially, not public failure in front of subordinates. Captain Hyun-woo walked through the underground tunnels that connected Earth's hidden command centers. The tunnels had been built over many years, connecting military bases, research facilities, and government bunkers. Most people didn't know they existed. He stopped at the Intelligence Analysis Center, where dozens of people sat at computers studying alien data. The walls were covered with charts and graphs and pictures of alien ships. "What's our latest count?" he asked the center director, Commander Jae-hyun. 50 ships, just like on day 1. But 7 of them have mechanical problems. We can tell by their heat signatures and energy fluctuations. They're breaking down? Slowly. Their technology is impressive but not perfect. Long-term operation in space puts stress on ship systems. Hyunwoo looked at a chart showing alien ship positions over the past 5 days. They're also getting sloppy with their formation. Very sloppy. If this was a human fleet, the Admiral would be court-martialed for such poor discipline. On day 7, Admiral Vexistar made his first major mistake. He decided to show the humans what would happen if they didn't surrender. He ordered his ships to attack an empty space station orbiting Earth. The space station was old and had been abandoned for 3 years. It had no people on it and no important equipment. But it was visible from Earth, and Vextar thought destroying it would scare the humans into responding. The attack was impressive. 12 alien ships fired energy beams at the space station. The beams were bright blue and very powerful. The space station exploded in a ball of fire and metal that could be seen from the ground. Then the aliens waited for Earth to respond, to beg for mercy, to surrender before more stations were destroyed. Nothing happened. No response. No communication. Complete silence. Lieutenant Subin listened to the alien communications after the attack. The translation computers were working, fast to convert alien words into human language. "They're arguing with each other," she reported to Captain Hyunwoo. Some of them think the attack worked. Others think it was a waste of energy. What does their admiral think? He's not saying much, but his ship's communication traffic has increased by 300%. He's getting a lot of messages from the Empire's high command. Dr. Minho was studying the energy readings from the alien attack. The weapons were powerful, but they had some interesting properties. Their beam weapons create a lot of heat, he told his research team, much more heat than they should. That suggests inefficient energy conversion. What does that mean for us? Asked Dr. Hyanji. It means their ships get very hot when they fire weapons. If they had to fight a long battle, they would overheat. Engineer. Kyung-soo was analyzing the wreckage of the destroyed space station. The pieces were floating in orbit, and Earth's hidden satellites were studying them carefully. The alien weapons are powerful but not precise, he reported. They destroyed the station with much more energy than necessary, like using a sledgehammer, to crack an egg. Wasteful, observed Taeho during the daily briefing. They're not used to conserving resources during extended operations. President Somin looked at the reports from around the world. Every day brought new information about the aliens, their technology, their psychology, their weaknesses, all because Earth had chosen to wait instead of fight or surrender. How much longer can we maintain this silence? She asked. As long as necessary, said Strategic Planning Chief Woo Jin. Every day we learn more. Every day they get weaker and more frustrated. And every day they don't attack our cities or our people, added Defense Minister Ji-won. Silence is saving lives. Admiral. Vextar stood on his bridge looking at tactical displays. 10 days had passed since arriving at this cursed planet. 10 days of waiting for a response that never came. His crew was getting restless. His ships were developing mechanical problems. The High Command was sending increasingly angry messages. Maybe we should just glass the planet and move on, suggested Captain Zorthak. Show the Empire we can still get results. The Empire wants this planet conquered, not destroyed, replied Vextar. Dead planets don't pay taxes or provide resources. Then, what do we do? Vextar didn't have an answer. In 102 previous conquests, he had never needed to think beyond the standard intimidation protocols. Now he was learning that some enemies couldn't be intimidated. On Earth, the waiting continued. In bunkers and hidden facilities, around the world, thousands of people worked quietly in the darkness. Scientists studied alien technology. Military officers planned theoretical battles. Intelligence analysts decoded alien communications. And with every passing hour, Earth grew, stronger while the alien fleet grew weaker. The humans had turned patience into a weapon, and the Empire had no defense against it. 2 weeks had passed since the alien fleet arrived. Admiral Vexitar felt like he was losing his mind. The blue planet below remained completely silent. No communications, no attacks, no surrender. Just endless, maddening quiet. Sir, we have another mechanical failure, reported his engineering officer. The Devastator's main reactor is overheating again. That's the third ship this week, muttered Vextar. How long until repairs are complete? 8 hours, sir, maybe 10. Vextar wanted to smash something with his 4 fists. His fleet was falling apart while the humans did absolutely nothing. It made no sense. Every other species in the galaxy had learned to fear the Empire's power. Every other species had responded quickly to threats, but not these humans. These strange, silent humans who seemed content to wait forever. Dr. Minho had not left the Deep Space Observatory in 3 days. His team was working around the clock, studying every detail of the alien fleet. The amount of information they had gathered was incredible. Look at this, he said to Dr. Hyanji, pointing at energy readings on his computer screen. Their fusion reactors are running at 97% capacity just to maintain orbit. That's not sustainable, said Hyanji. Our reactors only run at 60% for normal operations. Exactly. Their technology is powerful but inefficient. They're not designed for long missions. Dr. Yansu joined the conversation carrying a tablet full of data. I've been analyzing their shield patterns, she said. They use a rotating frequency system, but it follows a predictable cycle. How predictable? Asked Minho. Very predictable. The frequency changes every 47 seconds in a sequence that repeats every 18 minutes. Yanji whistled softly. If we knew that pattern, we could time our weapons to hit during the weak phases. We do know the pattern, said Yeonsu with a smile. I've been recording it for 2 weeks. Lieutenant Subin had become Earth's expert on alien psychology. She spent 16 hours each day listening to alien communications, learning how they thought and felt. The translation computers had improved dramatically, and now she could understand almost everything the aliens said. They're starting to panic, she reported to Captain Yunwoo during their morning briefing. Admiral Vextar received another angry message from his superiors yesterday. He's running out of time. What kind of pressure is he under? The Empire expected this conquest to be finished in 2 days. It's been 14 days. They're threatening to replace him with another admiral. Hyunwoo looked at the communication transcripts Subin had prepared. The alien messages showed increasing frustration and fear. They've never dealt with anything like this before. Never, agreed Subin. In their entire history, every conquest has followed the same pattern. Arrive, threaten, win quickly. They don't have backup plans. Psychologist Da Yoon was working with cultural analysis expert Sang Woo to understand how the aliens thought. They had been studying alien psychology for 2 weeks, using intercepted communications and behavioral observations. The Empire's entire military structure is built around intimidation, Da Eun explained to the Emergency Council. They use fear as their primary weapon. But fear only works if the target is afraid, added Sang Woo. Earth's silence has taken away their most effective tool. President Somin looked at their analysis reports. What happens when intimidation doesn't work? They don't know, said Da Yoon. That's the problem. They've never had to develop alternative strategies. So they're improvising? Badly. Very badly. Commander Jae Hyun was studying tactical data in the deep defense bunker. His team had been mapping the alien fleet's capabilities and limitations for 2 weeks. The picture that emerged was both encouraging and surprising. Their ships are powerful but inflexible, he reported to Admiral Hyejin, Earth's senior naval commander. They're designed for quick strikes against weak targets, not extended campaigns. What are their main weaknesses? Heat management is a big problem. Their weapons and shields generate enormous amounts of waste heat. In a prolonged battle, they would start overheating within minutes. How many minutes? Jae Hyun checked his calculations. Based on their energy signatures during the space station attack, I'd estimate 7 to 10 minutes of sustained combat before critical system failures. Admiral Heejin smiled grimly. Good to know. The alien fleet was experiencing more problems every day. Ships broke down, crews became tired and irritable, equipment malfunctioned. Admiral Vextar was receiving daily reports of mechanical failures and disciplinary problems. The Conqueror's navigation system is offline, reported Captain Zorthak. Estimated repair time is 12 hours. The destroyer's crew is reporting stress-related incidents, added the fleet medical officer. 3 fights in the mess hall yesterday. And the Annihilator's shield generators are running hot, said the engineering coordinator. They need 8 hours of cool-down time, or they might overload. Vextar looked around his bridge at the worried faces of his officers. This was supposed to be a simple conquest, a routine addition to the Empire's territory. Instead, it had become a nightmare of delays and equipment failures. How long can we maintain this position? He asked his chief engineer. Honestly, sir, maybe 1 more week before we start having serious system failures. Resource Management Coordinator Kyung-soo was tracking the aliens' supply situation from his underground facility. Earth's satellites had been watching alien ship movements for 2 weeks, noting every supply transfer and maintenance operation. They're running low on several critical resources, he reported to the Defense Council. Reactor fuel, spare parts, medical supplies. How can you tell? Asked Defense Minister Ji-won. Ship movement patterns. They're consolidating supplies from smaller ships to larger ones. That indicates shortages. How long before they run out completely? Kyung-soo studied his projections. Hard to say exactly, but probably less than 2 weeks. General Sung Ho had been planning Earth's eventual response for the past 2 weeks. He knew the waiting game couldn't last forever. Sooner or later, Earth would have to act. "We've learned everything we can about their capabilities," he told President Soman during a private briefing. "Now we need to decide what to do with that knowledge. What are our options? We can continue waiting and hope they leave on their own. We can try to negotiate, or we can attack while we still have the advantage." What advantage? They're weak, frustrated, and unprepared for a real fight. Their equipment is failing. Their morale is low. Their formations are sloppy. If we're going to fight them, now is the time. Dr. Minho was studying the latest energy readings when he noticed something unusual. The alien ships were emitting new types of signals, different from anything he had seen before. "They're scanning our planet more intensively," he reported to Captain Hyunwoo. "Deep penetration scans, looking for underground facilities." "Can they detect our bunkers?" "Not yet, but they're getting more sophisticated. I think they're starting to suspect that we're not as primitive as they initially believed." "How long before they find us?" Minho ran some calculations. "If they keep improving their scanning techniques at the current rate, maybe 3 or 4 days." The aliens were finally starting to understand that Earth was not a primitive, helpless world. The humans had technology, organization, and most importantly, patience. They had turned silence into a strategic weapon. Admiral Vexitar stood in his quarters looking out at the blue planet below. 14 days of waiting. 14 days of silence. 14 days of growing desperation. He had received another message from the Imperial High Command that morning. The tone was no longer angry. It was threatening. "Admiral Vexitar, you have 3 days to complete this conquest, or you will be relieved of command and face court-martial for incompetence." 3 days. After 14 days of waiting, he now had only 3 days to achieve victory or face disgrace. But how do you conquer an enemy that won't fight back? How do you intimidate creatures that aren't afraid? How do you defeat silence itself? For the first time in his military career, Admiral Vexitar had no answers. On Earth, the preparations continued. In hidden facilities around the world, humans worked quietly and efficiently. They had learned everything they needed to know about their enemies. Soon it would be time to act on that knowledge. The waiting game was almost over. 3 weeks. 21 days of perfect silence. Admiral Vexitar felt like he was going insane. His fleet was falling apart, his crew was exhausted, and the Empire's high command was sending him death threats disguised as official orders. "Sir, we have critical system failures on 7 ships," reported his chief engineer. "The reactor cores are overheating from continuous operation. Shut them down for maintenance," Vexitar ordered. "That will leave us with only 43 operational vessels." "Do it anyway. A working ship is better than an exploding one." On the planet below, the humans remained silent. But Vexitar was beginning to suspect that their silence was not the silence of fear or confusion. It was something else. Something deliberate and calculated and deeply threatening. President Somin stood in the main command center, 300 feet underground. The room hummed with quiet activity. Dozens of technicians monitored screens showing data from around the world. Earth had been gathering intelligence for 3 weeks, and now they had more information about the alien fleet than the aliens probably had about themselves. "Are we ready?" she asked General Sung Ho. "More than ready," he replied. "We know everything about them. Their technology, their tactics, their psychology, their weaknesses. The question is whether we should act." "What do you recommend?" "Strike now, while they're weak and confused. In another week, they might figure out what we're doing and adapt." Captain Hyunwoo was reviewing the final battle plans in his underground office. The walls were covered with charts showing alien ship positions, energy signatures, and tactical vulnerabilities. After 3 weeks of careful observation, Earth's military knew exactly how to hurt their enemies. "Target the command ships first," he said to his squadron leaders during a secure video conference. "Take out their communications and coordination capabilities." "What about their shields?" asked Commander Minsu. "We know their shield rotation patterns. Dr. Yonsu has timed them precisely. We attack during the weak phases. And their weapons? They overheat quickly. If we can force them into sustained combat, their weapon systems will start failing within 10 minutes. Dr. Minho had barely slept in 3 weeks, but his exhaustion was mixed with excitement. Earth scientists had learned incredible things about alien technology, things that would change human civilization forever. Their fusion reactors use a containment field we've never seen before, he explained to the gathered researchers. If we can reverse engineer it, we could improve our own power systems by 300%. What about their faster-than-light drive? Asked Dr. Hyenji. Even better. They use something called a spacefold engine. It's completely different from our theoretical models, but the principles are understandable. Engineer Yan Wu looked up from his calculations. Are you saying we could build our own starships? I'm saying we could build better starships than theirs. Lieutenant Subin had been listening to alien communications for so long that she was starting to think in their language. The translation computers had become incredibly sophisticated, and she could now understand not just words, but emotions and intentions. They're breaking down psychologically, she reported to Captain Hyunwoo. Admiral Vextar has been relieved of command twice in the past week, but there's no one to replace him. What do you mean? The Empire sent orders to replace him, but the replacement admiral took one look at the situation and requested a transfer to a different sector. No one wants to command this fleet. They're scared, terrified. They've never encountered anything like Earth's silence. It's breaking their confidence in everything they thought they knew about warfare. Admiral Vextar sat alone in his quarters, staring at the latest message from Imperial High Command. The words seemed to burn on the screen. Admiral, your incompetence has become a source of embarrassment for the Empire. Complete the conquest of Earth within 24 hours or prepare for court-martial and execution. 24 hours. After 3 weeks of failure, he now had 1 day to achieve the impossible. He called his senior officers to the bridge for an emergency meeting. The faces that looked back at him were tired, worried, and desperate. We attack at dawn, he announced. Full assault on the planet's surface, destroy their major cities until they surrender. Sir, said Captain Zorthak hesitantly, what if they still don't respond? Then we keep destroying cities until there's nothing left to destroy. The meeting broke up quickly. Officers hurried back to their ships to prepare for the assault. But Vextar noticed something in their eyes. For the first time in their military careers, his officers were afraid of battle. In the deep defense bunker, alarms began ringing softly. Earth's monitoring systems had detected changes in the alien fleet's energy patterns and formation. They're powering up weapons, reported tactician Junho. All ships. This looks like preparation for a major assault. General Sung Ho looked at the tactical displays. After 3 weeks of careful positioning, the alien ships were finally moving into attack formation. But their formation was sloppy and predictable. Exactly what Earth had been expecting. Signal all units, he ordered. Operation Silent Thunder is now active. President Somin gave the final authorization code. After 3 weeks of waiting and watching and learning, Earth was finally ready to break its silence. But not with words. With action. At exactly 3:47 a.m., Greenwich Mean Time, Earth's response began. Hidden launch bays opened on 6 different continents. Fighter squadrons that had been waiting in underground hangars lifted off into the night sky. Orbital weapons platforms that had been disguised as space debris suddenly came online. Missile silos that the aliens had never detected fired their payloads toward specific targets in the enemy fleet. Captain Hyunwoo led the first wave of fighters, launching from a hidden base in Korea. Behind him flew squadron leaders Min Soo, Yeonwoo, and Dong Min, each commanding carefully trained pilots who had been studying alien tactics for 3 weeks. Target the command ship first, Hyunwoo said into his radio. Hit them during shield rotation cycle 7. Mark. The fighters accelerated toward the massive alien flagship. Their weapons were not the most powerful in Earth's arsenal, but they had been precisely calibrated to exploit alien shield weaknesses. Admiral Vextar was on his bridge preparing for the planetary assault when his ship suddenly shook violently. "What was that?" he demanded. "We're under attack," his tactical officer reported. "Small craft coming from multiple directions." "Impossible. Our sensors showed no military activity." Another explosion rocked the ship, then another. "Shields are fluctuating," reported the defense officer. "They're hitting us during rotation cycles." Vextar stared at the tactical display in horror. Dozens of small Earth fighters were swarming around his fleet, striking with surgical precision at exactly the right moments to penetrate alien defenses. How do they know our shield patterns? No one had an answer. Dr. Hyunji's engineering teams had spent 3 weeks preparing special weapons designed specifically to exploit alien technology. The weapons used frequency-specific energy pulses that disrupted alien shield harmonics. "Direct hit on Target 7, reported weapons specialist Kyung Min. "Their shields are down." "Target 12 is showing heat buildup," added sensor operator Ji Eun. "Their reactor is overloading." "Target 3 is breaking formation," called out tactical observer Seung Min. "They're trying to retreat." The precisely coordinated Earth attack continued for exactly 47 minutes. When it was over, 12 alien ships had been destroyed, 15 more were severely damaged, and the remainder were fleeing toward the outer solar system. Admiral Vextar's flagship limped away from Earth with critical systems failing, and half his crew dead or injured. He had never experienced such a complete and humiliating defeat. As his ship prepared for emergency hyperspace jump, he looked back at the blue planet one final time. The humans had not spoken a single word during the entire encounter. They had simply acted with devastating precision and efficiency. In the aftermath of the battle, Captain Hyun-woo landed his fighter at the underground base. The hangar was full of celebrating pilots and ground crew, but Hyun-woo felt strangely quiet. "We did it," said Commander Minsu, pulling off his helmet. "We actually won." "This was just the beginning," Hyun-woo replied. "Now the real work starts." President So-min addressed the world from the emergency bunker. For 3 weeks, Earth had been silent. Now it was time to speak. "The alien threat has been neutralized," she announced. "But we have learned something important. The galaxy is not empty. There are other civilizations out there, and not all of them are friendly. Earth must be ready." 6 months had passed since the Battle of Earth. The galaxy was a very different place now. Admiral Vextar, former commander of the 47th Conquest Fleet, stood in chains before the Imperial High Court. His gray skin looked pale under the harsh courtroom lights. His forearms were shackled behind his back. "You are charged with the complete failure of a routine planetary conquest," announced High Judge Mordak. "How do you answer?" "The humans were not routine," Vextar replied quietly. "They were unlike any species we have ever encountered." "Explain." "Your failure." Vexitar thought back to those terrible 3 weeks orbiting the blue planet. They weaponized patience itself. They turned silence into strategy. We had no defense against an enemy that refused to be intimidated. The courtroom murmured with confusion. The Empire's military leaders had never heard of such tactics. "You lost 12 ships to a primitive world," said the prosecutor. 12 ships of the Imperial Navy, destroyed by creatures who barely have faster-than-light travel. "They knew everything about us," Vextar insisted. "Our shield patterns, our reactor weaknesses, our psychological profiles. They studied us for 3 weeks while we waited for them to surrender." "Impossible. Intelligence reports indicate the humans have no advanced surveillance technology." "The intelligence reports are wrong." On Earth, President So-min stood before the newly formed Terran Defense Alliance. The old United Nations building had been converted into a military command center. Representatives from every nation sat at a circular table covered with star charts and tactical displays. "The threat is not over," So-min explained to the assembled leaders. "The alien empire is vast. They control thousands of worlds across hundreds of star systems." "But we defeated them," said Chancellor Seok Jin from the European Federation. "We drove them away." "We defeated one small fleet," corrected General Shung Ho. "The Empire has thousands of fleets." Admiral Hya Jin, now commander of Earth Space Forces, pointed to a holographic map of the galaxy. "Our victory has had unexpected consequences. Intelligence reports indicate that the Empire is experiencing internal problems. What kind of problems? Asked Prime Minister Yu Jin. Rebellions. Several worlds have declared independence rather than risk facing human intervention. Dr. Minho had been working around the clock for 6 months, reverse engineering alien technology captured during the battle. His team had made incredible breakthroughs that would change human civilization forever. We now understand their faster-than-light drive system, he reported to the Defense Council. We can build our own interstellar ships. How long? Asked President Somin. First prototype should be ready for testing in 8 months. Engineer Hyun-ji stepped forward with her own report. We've also cracked their energy shield technology. Our new defensive systems are actually superior to theirs. And their weapons? Asked General Sung-ho. We've improved on their designs. Our new beam weapons are more efficient and generate less waste heat. Captain Hyun-woo, now Admiral Hyun-woo, was overseeing the construction of Earth's first interstellar fleet. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt worked constantly, building vessels that combined human engineering with captured alien technology. How many ships will we have by year's end? Asked Admiral Hyun during their monthly review meeting. 12 heavy cruisers and 36 escort vessels, Hyun-woo replied, all equipped with improved alien technology. That's not many ships, compared to the Empire's fleet. No, but ours will be better. We've learned from their mistakes. Lieutenant Subin, now Commander Subin, had become Earth's expert on galactic politics. She monitored alien communications from a network of hidden listening posts throughout the solar system. The Empire is calling Earth the Silent Death, she reported to the intelligence briefing. Their military manuals now include warnings about human tactics. What kind of warnings? Asked Intelligence Director Jae-hyun. Never attempt intimidation tactics against humans. Never assume human silence indicates submission. Never underestimate human patience or planning capabilities. They're afraid of us? Terrified. Word of our victory has spread throughout the galaxy. The Empire's reputation for invincibility has been shattered. Tae-ho, now Director of Xenological Studies, was working with psychologist Dae-yoon to establish protocols for future contact with alien species. Earth's caution had saved them once, and it would guide them in the future. We must assume that other species will eventually discover Earth, Tae-ho explained to the Defense Council. We need to be ready for any type of contact, peaceful or hostile. What do you recommend? Asked President So-min. Expand our early warning systems. Build hidden defensive installations throughout the solar system. Most importantly, never abandon the tactics that won us our first victory. Meaning, watch carefully. Learn everything. Act only when we have overwhelming advantage. Deep in space, Earth's new long-range scout ships patrolled the outer edges of the solar system. These vessels used advanced stealth technology to remain undetectable while monitoring for approaching threats. Commander Min-soo commanded the scout ship Vigilant. His crew spent months at a time in deep space, gathering intelligence and watching for signs of alien activity. Contact on long-range sensors, reported his tactical officer. 3 ships, Imperial configuration, heading toward Earth. Are they hostile? Unknown, sir. They're maintaining distance and broadcasting surrender signals. Min-soo smiled grimly. Surrender signals. 6 months ago, we were the ones being threatened with conquest. The 3 Imperial ships were deserters from the Empire's navy. Their crews had heard stories about Earth's victory and wanted to defect to human protection. Admiral Hyun-woo met with the alien defectors in a secure space station. The aliens were different species from different worlds, all united by their fear of the Empire and their respect for human tactics. We offer our services to Earth, said Captain Velnath, a reptilian alien from the Kepler system. Our knowledge of Imperial technology and tactics in exchange for protection. Why should we trust you? Asked Hyun-woo. Because the Empire is cruel and humans are not. Your victory proved that there are alternatives to conquest and intimidation. The galaxy was changing. News of Earth's victory spread from world to world, inspiring rebellions and independence movements. The Empire's iron grip was weakening as more species chose to fight rather than surrender. President Somin received daily reports of new rebellions and Imperial fleet defeats. Worlds that had been conquered centuries ago were suddenly declaring independence. "They're using our tactics," reported Commander Subin. "Patience, careful planning, and precise strikes against Imperial weaknesses." "Are we responsible for starting a galactic war?" asked Somin. "No," said General Xiong-ho. "We're responsible for showing the galaxy that the Empire can be defeated." Admiral Vextar sat in his prison cell reading intelligence reports about the spreading rebellions. The humans had done more than defeat his fleet. They had destroyed the Empire's most powerful weapon, fear. For 1,000 years, the Empire had ruled through intimidation. Species surrendered quickly rather than face destruction. But Earth had shown that patience and careful planning could overcome brute force and overwhelming numbers. Now that lesson was spreading throughout the galaxy. A guard approached his cell. "You have a visitor." Vextar was surprised to see human Admiral Hyunwoo waiting in the meeting room. "Why are you here?" asked the former Imperial Admiral. "To offer you a job," said Hyunwoo simply. "With humans?" "With the new Galactic Alliance. We're forming a coalition of free worlds to replace the Empire. We need experienced officers who understand Imperial tactics." Vextar stared at the human admiral. "You would trust me? You learned the same lesson we did. Conquest through fear is ultimately self-defeating. The Empire is collapsing because it never learned how to inspire loyalty, only how to create submission." On Earth, construction continued on hidden defensive installations and starship yards. The planet that had once been silent was now the center of a growing network of free worlds. Dr. Minho stood on the observation deck of the new orbital facility, looking out at Earth's first interstellar fleet. 12 sleek warships hung in space, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor and shield generators. "Beautiful ships," said Admiral Hai Jin, joining him at the window. "More than beautiful. They represent something the galaxy hasn't seen in 1,000 years. What's that? Hope. The hope that tyranny can be defeated through patience, intelligence, and careful preparation." President So-min addressed the Terran Defense Alliance for the last time as president of a single world. Tomorrow, she would become the first Secretary General of the Galactic Alliance. "6 months ago, we faced an impossible choice," she said to the assembled representatives. "Fight and lose, surrender and become slaves, or find a third option. We chose patience. We chose to wait and learn and prepare. That choice has changed the galaxy forever. The Empire ruled through fear for 1,000 years. But fear has a weakness. It only works on those who allow themselves to be afraid. Earth was not afraid. Earth was cautious. And caution, it turns out, is the greatest weapon of all." In the depths of space, the last Imperial fleets fled toward the galaxy's edge. Behind them, a new age was beginning. An age where patience and wisdom mattered more than brute force and intimidation.